You're in a massive pivotal moment, a crossroads of history right now, and that's not an overblown statement. It's a crossroads of history. You've got to see how this plays out. Donald Trump has played a very long game here. 4 years isn't long, but it feels like he's been in power for 2 decades at the moment because of the sheer volume of stuff that we've had to ingest on a daily basis. And we've now reached the end game. He couldn't. The problem is to go through the actions that he went through with the American public, with people, with governing. He had to stay in power so he couldn't be prosecuted. That was the end game. He had to stay in power. He couldn't lose power because all the dodgy stuff he's done for 4 years had all come on top. And this is why he overreacted, panicked, and then started the big lie. And anyone who's seen history, wherever it is, there's been a big lie again and again and again in history. The last big lie was probably Nazi Germany. And you see the result of that, where one guy ended up causing so much carnage and heartache and grief, and this guy, if you give him a little bit more rope, he will cause exactly the same level of grief. He's the same sort of person. He's shown himself to be this person. Now we have been on this show covering this for a while, and we saw the end result last week, where you had people that if for certain strokes of luck, there would be members of Congress, senators, representatives would be dead now if certain things hadn't just played out via luck, that they didn't find their way into certain chambers. And you would think at this point that the alt-right, the far right, like Newsmax, like all these other channels, would have at this stage gone, enough is enough. I can't go down this route and support this guy. So, yes, the alt-right did actually cave in and admit this week, for the first time, that Joe Biden has won. There will be a new president on the 20th. But if you call this a surrender, well, it's not what I'd call a surrender.
Joe Biden got away with it. System was always stacked against our president. Much more to say about that. You know, after yesterday and what we've been through for the past couple of months, I couldn't sleep last night. And when you can't sleep, you can do a lot of things. You can go eat something, you can watch TV, lots of things. I took out the phone, which is the last thing you should do if you can't sleep. And it got me mad right off the bat. I looked at the New York Times, and let's put that headline up. Trump incites mob. And there it is, a great big glaring lie. So many of them. Just about everything they've said about him has been untrue. And this one, I don't think they understand, the media, that we can see what they can see. They think we rely on them to tell us stuff. No. I watched that speech myself that the president gave from the ellipse. He said the opposite of riot.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
Anything wrong with that? Peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. That's what this country is all about, making your voices heard. So much. They lied about so much, but again, they never realized that we could see this stuff for ourselves. So I stayed up, I read, and then about 6 in the morning, I decided to turn on the Today Show. Very peculiar. Very much skewed, of course, against President Trump and the events of yesterday. But you know what was really strange? They didn't mention the name, the anchors, the reporters, for the first half hour of their much promoted special. No mention of the young woman, the Trump supporter, unarmed, who was shot and killed on Capitol Hill yesterday. Ashley Babbitt, a veteran of the Air Force, several deployments overseas. Again, unarmed, shot and killed, and almost totally unmentioned. So that brings us to Mike Pence. Mike Pence, I had an indication that he was going to go this way the other day when he said, we'll have our day in Congress. We'll hear the objections. When he said a day, that's when I realized he probably was going to take an interpretation that would, well, a narrow interpretation, A lot of people believe that the vice president under the 12th Amendment has plenary power, absolute power almost, when it comes to electoral matters once the votes are being counted. He disagreed. And yeah, reasonable people can disagree. It happens all the time. We see 5-4 decisions from the Supreme Court. But he chose a certain way, and this is what happened.
The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Joseph R. Biden, Jr. of the state of Delaware has received 306 votes. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 232 votes.
Joe Biden corrupted the system and stole those votes. They're stolen. But we have done everything we can. To a point. Just remember, we never really did have our fair day in court. Never. All right? It was always a technical issue. It was always a procedural thing, a standing thing. No, the evidence wasn't sufficiently heard. And what happened in Congress yesterday, because of the violence, it was abbreviated. We never really did get a full airing of this matter. Maybe that will happen once Joe Biden is in office. Maybe they'll come for him. Why am I saying it so definitively? Well, we have heard from the president, and let's put those tweets up. You know, they're canceling him. They're canceling Donald Trump on social media, so he's got to go through other people. Dan Scavino, one of his loyal lieutenants, statement by Donald Trump on the electoral certification. Even though I totally disagree with the outcome of the election and the facts bear me out, nevertheless, there will be an orderly transition on January 20th. I have always said we would continue our fight to ensure that only legal votes were counted. While this represents the end of the greatest first term in presidential history, it's only the beginning of our fight to make America great again. But sometimes you should be real careful about what you wish for, because I can imagine a scenario where Donald Trump could be even more powerful in a way out of office than when he was in.
It's not exactly contrition, is it? It's not exactly, oh, we were backing the wrong horse.
And this is what winds me up so much, and we talk about, well, all evening, really. Who do you trust? And lies, blatant lies, no journalism. It's just, it's trying to get, I mean, they came up with this whole idea of fake news. But, I mean, how fake can you get than that video clip you just played?
Yeah.
Absolute bullshit. My fear, and it's already started in the UK, we're always behind America, is the Boris Johnson government have already started, but a bit more cunning in their way. They make loads of money as well, like Trump did, by ripping off kids. But it's what do you believe anymore? What can you believe? And the future, like I say, is the lack of journalism, lack of credibility within the newspaper world, and we're going down this road of fascism.
Well, they're trying to, but you've got to fight it. You've got to fight it, haven't you? And that's what this is all about.
But they're saying the same thing. You've got to fight it.
Yeah, well, no.
And they did
but they're outnumbered. They are actually in the minority. You had a bunch of lunatics last week that gave an impression that maybe there were more of them than there are. I would like to see them do it on Inauguration Day, because if they do that next week, there is an army of 20,000 soldiers there. But I will say this: you're going to see some footage in a little while. The images of all those soldiers sleeping on the Capitol floor. The fact we've got an army in the Capitol just to ensure that there's peace. Anybody who's thinking now, did Donald Trump cause any problems worldwide, not just the Constitution of America? This guy has tipped everything to the brink. He's inspired people around the world as well to have a grab at the same power, to try the same thing, maybe just lie and say that you've lost. This is the sort of thing that Robert Mugabe did, and he's showing that you can get away with it in a much more advanced culture with much more information and an active media, and he still got away with this to a degree, but he fell at the last hurdle, in my opinion. Thank you for watching. I'm impressed. You've passed the IQ test and got this far, so let's press that button to do the last thing that helps us. It's got subscribe on it, you can't miss it, and please ring the bell for notifications of future videos.